And introduce our new member.
Yes, today we have a new board member that was recently appointed to the foundation board. It's Tom Chevlot. So I don't know if you wanted to take a minute to introduce yourself to everybody today.
Yeah, sure. Tom Chevlot, I live over in Hancock County. Excited to join this. We've had some good conversations since I got appointed. I've always had a passion for the DNR in all aspects. Recently retired, and so I wanted to get more involved with the state, particularly with the DNR in whatever capacity the governor of Suzanne felt, and this was an opportunity that came up, and so said, "You want to go in?" I said, "Put me in, coach." So here I am.
Glad, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks. All right, we'll move on to the review and approval of minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at these.
Move to approve. Second.
Now, do we have to say our names, Cheryl or somebody, when we, or if we're here, we don't, Jody?
No, if
the
somebody's
people.
joining my meeting, we will call, but if nobody's online, we won't.
Okay. Do we have any discussion about these, or if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Oh, we already did that. We'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll pass the minutes. We'll pass the minutes as written. Updates. Jody?
Yeah, so for the updates, I just wanted to share a few of the events and some of the things that we have coming up. This year, we're doing, I think this is our fourth year doing the Happy Little 5K, which started in Michigan 6 or 7 years ago. And it's a virtual 5K where we have participants that will register, they get a bib, a t-shirt, a medal, and they're able to do that 5K in a week span from around Earth Day, during that week, Earth Day and Arbor Day. Currently, we have for 2026, we have just over 1,300 participants registered in Indiana. There are a total of 18 states that are participating. And once again, we are only behind Michigan in terms of the race registrant. So it's a pretty good look for Indiana with so many people joining the 5K. Behind us are Oregon and Wisconsin. And I still don't think they're going to catch us. So we should have another pretty good year. Last year, that event generated just over $35,000 total that was able to be used in state parks. And I know the event had shared earlier this year, there was an impact story that went out that talked about what they were doing in the Cornish Creek, removing some of the invasives and the tree of having species that are there to clean up that property just a little bit. The registrations are going to close by April 1st. So if anybody that's interested, please get out there and promote that. I think they're going to have a cap of 14,000 participants. So if they hit that before April 1, they're going to shut off the registrations by then. Another big event that we have coming up is going to be on Thursday, May 14th. We are working on the save the date to get that wrapped up, and we will get that to you. That's going to be in Fort Wayne. That's the biannual fundraiser for Northeast Indiana. And I know that my understanding is that Governor Brown is going to be in attendance at that event. So if you guys want to come up, if you haven't been there, it's been a few years. So you can come up and check that out. Those guys have raised over $1.6 million for land acquisition and other conservation projects in Northeast Indiana. So it'd be great to give them a show of support and actually go up and thank them in person. The next event I have on schedule is April 22nd. We're going to have a tree planting once again with Houston Solar. It's going to be at Prophetstown State Park. And if you missed it, I still think they have some gear available. Uniontown just released Chain Lake State Park, which is a West Coast style IPA. We did an event there last week. We had quite a few, I think 15, 16 people show up for that. So if you get a chance to head over to Whitestown and check that out to support the Pines for Parks program, I encourage you to do that. That's what I have for updates.
Julie, could I add that they have Motown has a smaller kind of tasting in Carmel, and they carry the state park beers there. So if you don't feel like making it to Whitestown and live, Hamilton County area, try to beers there too.
They also have a location down in Nashville as well. It is the original Big Woods. It's back behind the Big Woods that's there now. It's back there in the alleyway right there, which I think they carry some of the state park beers.
Go ahead. Do they have any questions about Jody's updates? All right, but Jody can take us into the financials.
For the financials, everything's looking pretty good. I still wanted to refrain from producing finance reports for the meeting because if we produce those for the meeting, they do have to be presented publicly. Because we're in the middle of the first ever external audit, to build something that's a little bit better public format. I want to wait till that's finished. I know everybody wants to know when's the audit going to be done. I had a conversation with CBIZ this morning, and we've got pretty much 2 pieces left that I need to get submitted. Hopefully that'll be Friday. Within the next week or 2, we'll have a review and should have finances ready to go, hopefully by the end of the month or sometime in early middle. I don't think there's been anything significant with regards to the audit, other than just the fact that it was the very first time we'd ever done one externally, so it's very comprehensive. And we did go over on the budget that they had proposed in terms of the agreement for 25,000. It's a couple $1,000s over. And the reason for that is because they had to have a lot more discussions because we're not kind of a standard nonprofit where we're looking at the state. We have the NSWAMP and ILFP programs of how does that look on the functional expenses? How does that look in terms of, how this report is going to get pulled together? It makes sense with the financial information. So that's why it's been a little bit more expensive. And just the amount of time it's taken to actually complete the audit has been longer than what it's going to be moving forward, just because it was the first time and learning everything with them. I've been learning about us, so but I think we're in pretty good shape. Does anybody have any questions with regards to the audit process at this point?
Have they indicated whether that extra $4,000 is going to be if or is the potential of that number?
That should be there. That should be the final bill. And then I think, looking into next year and future audits, once we get this one done, we get everything wrapped up, I think we need to probably have more discussions maybe in June's meeting about what does it look like moving forward for these audits, because I don't think on an annual basis, we need to have as comprehensive as it will as the organization that we can split. This year, we're going to do the finances plus. The next year, we can do finances plus, and then have kind of a rotation on some of those items on the internal controls, just to keep it a little bit more efficient in terms of time, and then also from a cost perspective, that will help keep our costs down.
I'd like to add, I'm in touch with Jody a lot through life, and the hours that this man has put in for this audit have been unbelievable. None of us would have any clue if I had not. Hey, Jody, I'm working on this. I'm like, oh my gosh, how much? So I think that's something we really need to think about, because I don't believe that should be something you have to do to the degree you've done this year. So we need to talk about that.
That was a great segue for the next point on our agenda.
We didn't plan that. It wasn't planned, but it's the truth. It is the truth. I mean, I would never have known had I not talked to Jody. And every time I talked about coming to court or coming to Blue River or whatever, and every time I've talked to him in the past 3 or 4 months, he's been working on the audit. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I know that's happened. And I don't know if you were going to mention that or not, but I felt like I should since I knew.
Yeah, the first item under new business is accounting efficiencies and outsourcing. When we launched with DNR, the NSWAMP program back in 2018, we had a pretty good idea of what we would be managing in terms of the potential with the mitigation projects coming in and some of the volume that we would have. But I think as, even in our last meeting, we've talked about how does the foundation, play in that, the fiscal agent a little bit better in terms of the options, and there may be some things in the future that we talk about. But as that program has evolved and there's more land acquisition, there's more projects going on, there's a lot more parts and pieces to this that we didn't necessarily anticipate. And I think as we look ahead, even with staff that we have in the office that we went out fundraising, I've had Todd come in and do some of the invoicing and receiving for that in NSWAMP and ILFP program, just to free up the plate doing some of the reconciliation. We currently have 5 bank accounts, 3 investment accounts, plus 4 CDs that we're managing in this process. And to keep track of all of that, it's a good idea that we look to maybe outsourcing some of that, because I've been spending a lot more of my time accounting at the desk than actually out talking to people and spending time in the field like I should. So if we can address that I did have a conversation with somebody that CBIZ put me in touch with in terms of looking at accounting efficiencies first. Because if we move to outsourcing some of this, we can't have, because of, we use QuickBooks that's attached to the state backbone, they have to have the training or be a state employee or a contractor to be able to access that. So we can't necessarily just flip that out. So we're looking at some cloud-based services that we can use as a priority and adding some automation to that process. But in doing that, that should allow us to look at maybe outsourcing a few more of those components once we get everything kind of bundled up a little bit better and able to do that. My understanding is we're one of the only quasis that's doing our accounting in-house, most everything's outsourced. So there should be some pretty good examples available to us to look at. But with outsourcing and some of those efficiencies, there may be some additional costs associated with that. Because we may have to look at different softwares and different pieces, because as we move to cloud-based systems, we have to follow what the Indiana ramp or the Fed ramp in terms of security protocols and what we're able to use. So we'll have to navigate those waters as we look at this. So it's going to be a little bit of a process, but hopefully by June, we should have some of those answers and look at it from a budget perspective. Because if we're going to continue to do the auditing annually, and we're doing some of this outsourcing, it's going to change some of our financial outlook. So I don't know if anybody has any wisdom that they could share.
I have no wisdom, but I've got questions. You learned whether these other quasis do outsource, what's their protocol? Are they on a cloud-based system or do we know yet?
I don't know that yet. I haven't had an opportunity to explore that.
Cody, I just, curious when you said you had 4 different bank accounts, is that for a statute or is that because MIT funds can't be commingled?
Well, we have, there's 2 reasons. One is because the ILFP and NSWAMP programs are held separately from the foundation. Those are both federally, well, the NSWAMP is a federally regulated program. Then just to keep the books clean and things separate, we have those bank accounts. Now, the NSWAMP and ILFP programs also have 2 bank accounts. There's one that's the deposit only account, and there's one that's an operating account.
Okay.
And the reason that we did that is because we initially had one for each of those programs, but about a year ago, we had some fraudulent attempts on those accounts because we are sharing the account information externally with folks to get ACH and wire information. Somehow somebody got a hold of that and we became a little bit of a target. Everything was taken care of. But instead of changing those accounts, we left the account information the same since there were so many outstanding invoices. We left all of that the same. So those are only deposit accounts. So there can't be any draws taken on those. And then what we do is we'll transfer those funds as they come in to the operating account. Those are protected. We don't share that account information. And the only way money moves between those accounts is electronic.
Anybody have any questions or concerns? All right. Well, the next item on the agenda is the Northeast Indiana fundraiser agreement.
Yes, this agreement was done back in 2018 with the committee that helps execute the fundraiser in Northeast Indiana. And due to some different laws that exist today, some of those meetings are required to be public. An issue that we've discovered is that as we're having these planning meetings for these fundraisers, we're talking about dollars that they're going to be donating. And I think we're probably breaching some donor privacy laws and some confidentiality with some of these donors. So what we need to do, the section that's changing is under the project committee. And I spent some time talking with our general counsel, Stephanie Flintner, about this. And the way that we need to do this to ensure that we're protecting donor privacy is previously the project committee was named in this document agreement. But what we need to do is to adjust that to where the project committee is established and the participants are determined by the executive director of the foundation rather than chairman by the board. And that is the only change that we've made in this. I talked to Tom Kelly in Fort Wayne, as he's the committee chair up there. And he said he's fine with doing whatever we need to do. I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that when we go over the discussion.
You're saying, I'm sorry, Joe, the only thing that has changed is the description on the project.
Right. Right. The fifth, section down there, project committee stewardship committee, that is the only section that's going to be modified. Okay. Everything else is maintained.
So we need to vote up their vote. We need to vote on this to approve this new format.
I move to approve the amended document.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Thanks for all that work on doing that, Jody.
It's down important.
It's a lot. So
So any fundraiser that we have, if this will replicate the same like separate. Yeah, we would want to do a separate agreement for that separately, because I think that this one addresses specifically the area for Northeast Indiana. And I think that their focus has been from the get-go talking about land acquisition. We've done some other conservation projects. But a different region of the state may have a different focus because there may be other organizations that are focused on conservation that are taking care of something. There might be a hole to fill, but if we could replicate this somewhere, we would definitely want to have an agreement.
So the fundraiser this year in Fort Wayne, is it a large one? Is it like at Tom Kelly's house again? At Tom's house?
Probably have between 16 and participate.
Well, for those of you that haven't gone, I've gone several times. I'm coming this year. I'm gonna come to it this year, so. Yeah, but it's really a nice event and our staff always does a great job meeting people and all that stuff. It's nice to have them at the table when you first walk in, so it's nice that we go and support that. The amount of money that group of guys have raised is phenomenal. Right. And with ease, with such ease. I mean, it's just like,
Happy your question would be great if it could be completed. At some point, in the years past, we kind of made it on it somewhere down south, I guess it's really requires a close knit group of people within a community with conservation minded and willing to put the money in the outfits to make this work. But anybody up in the northwest part of the state? Somebody else.
anything else on the fundraiser? Are we ready to move on to the executive session? Or is there any other business to come in front of us? Or
We'll have a couple things after, but we can go ahead and jump into executive session. We're going to have a schedule, but yeah.
We are back in public session now, and we are ready to entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we vote in favor of the decision made during executive session on this acquisition. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Oh, same sign. Approved unanimously. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for Silty for matching those funds. We appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to recognize is Silty also made a generous contribution towards the Steinbeiser parcel, which we purchased the last fall, I believe. Or was it this spring? Last fall, wasn't it? Yeah, it was last fall. We purchased a 30-acre parcel with the nature preserves with Northeast Indiana funds, and Silty is making a generous contribution to the Northeast Indiana fundraiser this year to be one of the sponsors for that. So we appreciate it. Next is a conversation on having a strategic plan, and I wanted to run through a couple things I wanted to share with you guys about this. We've talked about it before. I know we hit COVID, and I think we've come to a point where I think enough has somewhat evolved with the foundation. We're looking at some of the accounting efficiencies, we're doing some audits, but we have to get back to creating a strategic plan like we did back in 2018. If you guys remember that process of going through, talking to external partners and stakeholders, working with DNR, working with the foundation board to build this. Just to share some of the statistics after we had done the strategic plan. From 2016 to March of this year, our unrestricted assets alone climbed from $321,000 in 2016 to 2.8 million here in 2026. That includes the fact that we added from one staff member to 4 full-time staff members and 1 part-time staff member. So we've seen some pretty good growth. We've also been able to build a lot of our unrestricted funding, introduce the land fund, the revolving land fund that we're now using. The quasi endowment has grown by $1.4 million in that same time frame. And with the INSWAP and ILFP programs, we've moved from managing $10 million to managing $100 million. So we've seen a lot of change, a lot of growth, and a lot of that is only due to some of what we did with the strategic plan. And in that same time frame between restricted and unrestricted grants and contributions, we've had $16 million come through our doors. And I think it's time that we sit down and look at seriously building another strategic plan. We have new leadership within DNR. There's a new administration in place. We've been looking a lot more at land acquisition and what is our way in that and how we're working with external partners. Because we've tapped out, I think it would be great to include external partners in this and see how we're all collaborating together, how we're all working together to have our role in that. So we're not adding a lot of competition to anything. It's everybody plays a part. And I think it's time that we address strategically what our role is in this, both with DNR and some of the external partners that we work with. So I don't know if anybody's willing to jump on that bandwagon to be a help in terms of maybe forming a committee, a planning committee to knock that out. But I think it would be extremely beneficial to have, at least a board member to possibly to jump in on that and assist with that. And open a broader discussion on actually doing that and the timing, because I think it's something that we'd have to look at that would probably launch in 27 at this point.
What are we do strategic planning for the company? It's always been helpful to get back and remind everybody. I think it's been, yeah. Maybe we can publish what our whole strategic plan looks like. Just kind of like with everybody that final product that you can come with. That kind of sad and things. And then have some discussions. I think those metrics that you just mentioned are really good. And talk to you, staff, and other board members about it. Here's our old strategic plan. Here's the dynamics that have changed. Here are the assets we now manage. Here are the staff we have. Now, what does that mean for some of our goals and objectives bringing forward? And then how does really fit the ideas into action items for those strategic plan? So, I think helpful to kind of use it for original document. Did I just hear you volunteer?
We love you, right?
But yeah, I'm going to have it. I do think that, especially.
And yes,
Absolutely.
really smart.
All right, and then the last thing I have on the agenda, if there's no other comments for that, is Mark and I have talked, and I know that we've talked in past board meetings somewhat extensively about hosting our meetings at different locations around the state, different state park properties, different forest properties. Just for the simple fact that we make a lot of decisions here about land acquisition, land that we bought, projects that we participated in. And I think it's time we start getting out and seeing these projects firsthand. And, we're partnered with the Harrison Trust on our meeting time, so we'll have larger groups of people. We can set up tours, we can go out and look at the stuff that we're just making decisions on here. We can go out and actually take a look at it, walk and hike the properties. So what we're looking at for the June board meeting, which I would remind everybody with some of our rules that June board meeting, we need to have everybody participate in person for that particular meeting because it is a budget meeting. So we'll be approving the budget for the next fiscal year. But we have tentatively reserved the room at Turkey Run State Park to build a meet there. And there are several things that the turkey run back. That's probably been 8 years ago. We worked with state parks and we had a generous contribution from REI. The details from REI that came in that helped with the modifications to Trail 3 through Rocky Hollow Beach. So that would be something that would be a good opportunity to go and check out. I don't think we've had any down there. Say a turkey run, but
It's been a few years, but Harrison Trust has helped with some acquisition on the north end of the park. But that's probably been the most thing.
and we looked at Turkey Run specifically because it's still somewhat central to the state. It's a little bit to the west. But we tried to keep in mind everybody's travel time and distance to get different places. And we thought starting central would probably be the best idea. So if we can, we get everybody to agree that Turkey Run on June 9th is where we.
Right. So, over the years, there's been effort to do this and like the mission. Source of mission. And that's not always worked well. And as the June 8th meeting is one where all board members have to be there, I think that might, I worry that if we're going to change things, we need to make sure all board members say now, yeah, that works for me or not, or wait till the September meeting to go. That's, if it's that much, if attendance is that important, I think you probably need to confirm with everybody. Sure, they'll be there for starters, regardless of where it's at.
So everybody here is going to agree to be there?
That's actually.
Putting it on my calendar right now.
Yep, it'll be 9:30.
So then will the Harrison Trust meet there as well?
Yeah, that's the goal is to have it.
Harrison Trust will meet there at Turkey Run too, yeah. Because I was like, I'll be driving fast to get. I think I mean, we're small enough that we can personally ask each person if Turkey Run is a deal breaker or not. I don't think that it's going to be really, but, I think that strengthens the board. I remember a million years ago that we had that meeting at my section. We had so much fun and I'll host that anytime. There's a lot of projects near there. And, you know, we really did have fun. That's when we really had Ian out there and with those Asian carp on those. I'd never seen him in my life before. We were on the Ohio River doing donuts with these elderly gentlemen on there saying, go around again. And the Asian carp are going crazy. But it was a fun story if we live to tell about it. But, you know, I think it's fun to go on these adventures together. I went to see where was that? I was so lost down there to see I don't
Oh,
know.
at Shoals down at Oregon State Forest, the nature preserve, love to move them or something. They go at to with the cliffs and the.
Poor Jody had to stand out by the road for his other mother and say, turn your signal on. I see you. I'm like, I can't find this place. But that was really fun. So I like that idea, but I'll help call or see if the people that aren't here today, if they're able to come. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful for all of us if everybody could nail that down in the next week or two. We can send a follow-up email, get everybody to confirm whether they can make it or not, and then make a decision.
And you're gonna bring it up at the Harrison Trust.
Yes.
That's all I have. So I don't know if there's anything else that anybody had additional items.
Does anybody else have anything? I want to circle back around to this strategic plan thing for a while, and I know you guys are gonna think I'm just bragging on Jody, but I remember when he first came here, he had such big ideas. I've been on here a long time, and Jody thought so big and was so smart about it. I remember telling you that, and now look where we are. So thank you for your leadership and helping us go where we are. It's great.
Yeah, the strategic plan it's a good session last time, but we did that. There were a lot of people that participated. And having TNR involved heavily in that process is a very strong thing. So it worked out really well. I just think it's time to do it again. I agree.
Thank you all for being here. Does anybody else have anything? Do you guys have anything to add? I'm really excited about that first right to refusal. That's cool. So. All right, I guess adjourn. Okay.